We're at the 10 o'clock hour on Raw. And yes, by the way, we've had about 3 lackluster matches with about 15 minutes of action in 2 hours. But Cody was in the ring. And they love Cody in Greensboro, including I saw the sign, "Do it for Dusty." And by the way, remember I told you when we ran the Greensboro Coliseum in 1998, we being the WWF, I was a we at that time with them. And the market rep came to me because between 86 and 98, they had done a big renovation of the Greensboro Coliseum where they, in effect, raised the roof and added like 3,000 or 4,000 seats. I don't know how the fuck they did it. They've done that twice now. I think the original Coliseum only seated like 10,000 people in the 60s. But anyway, so the market rep came and he said, well, he said, we beat Starrcade 86 in this building in terms of attendance in the main arena because it's bigger now. But counting the 16,600 that were here for Starrcade 86 and the 3,000 or 4,000, whatever it was that they had next door for the closed circuit, we didn't beat them people-wise, but we beat, because that was the biggest ever wrestling crowd and gate in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so that's what they were working off of. And he said, we beat the gate, and it was like by several $100s. They beat the gate for Starrcade. He said, but answer me this, is this correct? Because they still had at the Coliseum, they had the manifest, the ticket count, all the information. He said there were only like 68 comp tickets out of like 20,000 people. I said, yeah, it sounds about right. I said, actually, that's a lot, but it was the big show of the year, so you could bring your wife if you wanted. And the guy was like, what the fuck? They gave away thousands of tickets, even back in the 90s, right, on the big shows. He couldn't fathom. He said, how did you promote it? I said, we had a TV show every week. Anyway, so they love Cody in Greensboro. And he opened up, I know these grounds, the home of the first Starrcade, also the second, and a part of the third and part of the fourth. And then he went into the Scorpion and the Frog story. And I know where he was going with it, that he wanted to be profound and witty or wise or whatever, but I think the people hung with him on the Scorpion and the Frog just because he was a Rhodes.
Yeah, Jake's story about the snake is much better.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if I've got a lot of sympathy for a fucking frog. But anyway, he
is he the frog? Up. Is he saying he's the frog?
Well, I don't know which one was which, but
is Brock the Scorpion and Cody's the frog?
The frog comes out the worst of it.
Oh, maybe not then.
Well,
so Cody's the Scorpion?
Both of them drown. But the frog got stung by the scorpion and died a painful death first and then drowned, where the fucking scorpion just drowned.
So Brock's the frog.
Well, no, but Brock's normally the scorpion.
Huh.
But now he might be the frog. Well, basically, it's Brock's nature to be the hunter, but now he's the hunted. That's the problem. After he got out of the analogy of the scorpion and the frog, or the serpent and the rainbow, or whatever it was, then he fired the promo back up and we got back with it. Because he's asking Brock, how's your face? When you look in the mirror, you see the staples, you see the black eye, blah, blah, blah. I did that to you. And, you know, the wrestling promo at the end was better than the homily in the middle. But, you know, that's, I liked it also because he said, while Brock Lesnar is better than 99% of the other wrestlers he steps in the ring with, he wasn't better than me at Backlash. And he says when Brock tries to make excuses, how can there be an excuse? And that's when he went off with Tourette's syndrome and mentioned the word wrestling 3 times in 10 seconds. He said, I beat you with, how did he say it? I beat you with a wrestling hold in a wrestling match how do you say wrestling 3 times? Help me.
I beat you in a wrestling match with a wrestling hold. What was the third one?
What was the
wrestling
third
match? Wrestling. I'm a wrestler who used a wrestling hold to beat you in a wrestling match.
There you go.
I think that may have been it.
But the point is, Vince, if thankfully Vince wasn't there, his head would have blown up. But that actually was a good line. And Cody makes the point it's about who's the biggest thing on Monday Night Raw, and Brock isn't anymore, and he is. So Cody needs Brock to step aside because you're not the next big thing anymore. You're in my way. And that was a good way to end it. So, but we had to wait 2 hours to listen to Cody. Was the drawback on all of that.
The Scorpion and the Frog was classic AEW Cody. Overthinking what you need to do. Just go out there, get people fired up because you're fired up, and you're going to kick this guy's ass.
He got there eventually.
Because that's the other thing. Everyone knows the story from Jake, and other guys have told the story on wrestling TV over the past 50 years too about the snake. You knew I was a snake. We've heard that story. So all of a sudden I thought it was going to be at the end, you knew I was a Scorpion, whatever it was. It wasn't, and there was no good payoff for it, and the crowd didn't even know how to react.
And besides, doesn't the snake bite something cute, doesn't it? It doesn't bite a frog.
What does the snake bite? And
I can't remember.
Is it a rabbit? No, it can't be a rabbit.
It might be a rabbit. Wait, that would be terrible if a snake bit a rabbit.
Why would the snake be near the... Well, I guess they would be near a rabbit.
They'd all be out there in the woods together. They've got a deal.
Who's got a deal?
The snakes and the rabbits and the furry woodland creatures they all exist out there just fine until the humans come in and fuck the whole thing up.
I've seen cartoons. I know what you're talking about.
So the point is, who the fuck did the snake bite?
Hold on. We can't move on.
Well, here, while you figure out a way to Google it, I thought you were just going to Google the story, the bedtime story, or what would you call that?
Bedtime story about snakes.
Well, the next match on Raw was Smiling Raquel against Chelsea Green. And Chelsea is green, and Raquel does smile, and Raquel won, but Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler beat her up and stole her lunch money and talk mean to her in the entryway. Have you got that update yet on who the snake bit?
Oh, no, I was writing in my notes what we were talking about. And Ronda Rousey and Shayna, heel tag team, beat up Raquel. And from what I understand, Liv is injured right now, so we'll see what happens.
But get back to, I'm worried about who the snake bit.
Stories about snakes. Let's go to this. There was once a...
What?
There was once a little child whose mother gave her every afternoon a small bowl of milk and bread, and the child seated herself in the yard with it. When she began to eat, however, a snake came creeping out of the crevice in the wall, dipped its little head in the dish, and ate with her. The child had pleasure in this, and when she was sitting there with her little dish and the snake did not come at once, she cried, "Snake, snake, come swiftly! Hither come, thou tiny thing! Thou shalt have thy crumbs of bread. Thou shalt refresh thyself with milk.
Do not dither, come hither."
Then the snake came in haste and enjoyed its food. Moreover, it showed gratitude, for it brought the child all kinds of pretty things from its hidden treasures, bright stones, pearls, and golden playthings.
Wait a minute, how do they fucking snakes make this kind of money?
The snake, however, only drank the milk and left the breadcrumbs alone. Then one day the child took its little spoon and struck the snake gently on its head with it, and said, "Eat the breadcrumbs as well, little thing." The mother, who was standing in the kitchen, heard the child talking to someone, and when she saw that she was striking a snake with her spoon, ran out with a log of wood and killed the good little creature.
What the
From that time forth, a change came over the child.
Oh my God!
As long as the snake had eaten with her, she had grown tall and strong, but now she lost her pretty rosy cheeks and wasted away. It was not long before the funeral bird began to cry in the night, and the red breast to collect little branches and leaves for a funeral garland, and soon afterwards, the child lay on her bier.
Who the fuck wrote that?
That wasn't the Jake story I was thinking of, by the way.
No, I've never heard Jake tell that story.
By the way, what an awful story. Oh, that was by the Brothers Grimm.
Whoa, no wonder we now come to figure out why they called them that. They are very grim indeed.
Here's a story, The Crab, the Swan, and the Snake. This is the great story of birds and animals for children. Long ago, a crab lived in a lake near a forest. Crab's best friend was a swan, which was living near the lake too. They were living happily in their places. It's hard to find the isolated Jake Roberts snake story. Hold on.
Wait a minute. Now you've got me all hooked on this other thing. What did the crab have to say about all these things?
Oh, shit. I just went off the crab page. Hold on.
You off the crab page now?
Turns out if you put Jake Roberts snake, a lot of other things come on. Jake Roberts snake.
Oh, my God. Oh, ho.
Story.
Don't type in Jake Roberts hog.
Jake Roberts story. I knew you were a snake.
By the way, doing more research on whose idea was it to read these stories to children to begin with? No wonder fucking the human race is goddamn maladjusted and all fucked up. If people have been hearing stories like that for hundreds of years.
I found it. Let me relay a little story to you, so maybe you'll understand exactly where I'm coming from. Once upon a time, there was a little rabbit hopping down the trail.
A rabbit!
And he looks out on the roadway, and a snake had been crushed by a car. Nearly dead, but not quite. And the rabbit hopped out. He looked down at the snake and said, "Snake, I know you're hurt badly, and I'm going to take you back to my den and help you and nurse you back to health." The snake said, "No, you can't do that. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. You can't do that." "Oh, but I'm going to make you my friend, Mr. Snake." So he did. He carried that snake back to his den, put him in his den, and slowly, but surely, he did nurse him back to health, just like he said he would. Then one day, the rabbit went out for more food and more water for the snake. He went back. The snake was gone. He turned around, and there was the snake in front of him. And the snake said, "Mr. Rabbit, I'm going to eat you." And the rabbit said, "Oh no, I'm your friend." And the snake said, "From the very beginning, I told you I was a snake. And you, Ultimate Warrior, have to be the biggest, dumbest rabbit I have ever seen." And there's the promo.
So it was a rabbit, a cute little furry thing.
Named the Ultimate Warrior.
You have, well, he wasn't cute or furry, but you have sympathy for the rabbit. You don't have sympathy for the frog. The frog lobby is not doing with their job these days. Nobody's got frog sympathy.
You don't like frogs?
I used to like frogs when I was a kid. Frogs are not very affectionate. And they will piss on you if you're holding them.
I've grown to hate frogs.
I used to go out in the yard and collect them just to see how many I could find.
They fucking kill themselves in my pool all summer long. These idiots jump in the pool.
Don't you have a no frog policy? Are you not posted? Don't you have signs? What, do you got a bunch of illiterate frogs up there?
You don't know how many chlorine-filled frogs have drowned or committed suicide in my pool. It's ridiculous.
I'm telling you, put a sign up or you're going to be liable. Some frog's family is going to sue.
All right. Well, that could be the next Cody promo. What are we talking about? Are we still in Raw?